A rich heiress goes shopping at the mall in the most arrogant way. When a male clerk helps her try on shoes, he accidentally touches her foot. She kicks him away immediately. The clerk is so shocked he can't even think straight. Duku sees this and runs over to check what's happening. Chung Shik, who got kicked, says sadly, he was just helping the heiress try on shoes. But Boare keeps blaming Chung Shik for touching her expensive feet. Duku tries to defend his friend, but then he notices the girl is the same one who wanted to commit suicide at the hospital and whom he saved recently. But Boare doesn't want to recognize him. Instead, she threatens to report Chung Shik to the management. Chung Shik worries and begs for mercy, but she pushes him away. Duku steps in and grabs Boare. He tries to reason with her kindly, but Boare pushes him down too. Just then the mall manager arrives. Chung Shik quickly explains that Boare is causing trouble for no reason, but then suddenly the manager calls Boare young miss. At that moment Chung Shik is shocked, but Boare keeps making demands. She scolds the manager harshly and tells him to control his staff. She also blames Duku. She tells Duku to stop meddling in everything. After Boare leaves, Duku apologizes to Chung Shik. He says he shouldn't have made things worse. Chung Shik comforts Duku. He jokes that someone as handsome as him will be fine. But the next day, he gets fired unexpectedly. Duku gets angry. When he hears this, he immediately goes to find Boare. At the same time, Boare just had a fight with her dad. Now she's grounded by him. When Duku reaches Boare's house, he sees Boare sneaking out as soon as they meet. Boare nervously asks if Duku can drive. When she learns he can, she quickly throws him the car keys. Before Duku understands what's happening, Boare pushes him into the car. The guards notice and react. They start chasing them. But Duku drives skillfully and escapes with Boare. Once they're on the road, Duku tells Boare to take her anger out on him. He says yesterday's mess was his fault, not Chung Shik's. He begs Boare to give Chung Shik his job back. But Boare seems very dismissive. She orders Duku to drive to Gangnam Road immediately. Seeing Boare ignore his request, Duku pulls the car over right away. He says he's not her personal driver. Why should he listen to her? Boare sees Duku won't be pushed around. She reluctantly agrees to reinstate Chung Shik. She promises to call the mall manager when they arrive soon. They stop outside a building. Duku expects Boare to keep her word, but Boare suddenly changes her mind. She leaves Duku and enters a club. When Duku tries to follow, the security guard stops him inside. Boare starts dancing to pop music. Her moves attract a flashy young man. Seeing his silly behavior, Boare feels disgusted and walks away. But the young man won't leave her alone. He insists on flirting with her. Getting carried away, he even rubs his dirty hands on Boare's face. Angry Boare grabs a soda and splashes it on him. The young man gets ready to hit her, but his friends hold him back. So he starts cursing in broken English. Just then Duku sneaks in and slowly walks down the stairs. He speaks in perfect English. He makes fun of the guy's strong Texas accent. He jokes that the guy only learned some English in the countryside, but acts like he's from New York. This makes the guy very angry. He asks Duku why he's interfering. Duku says he's Boare's driver. Then he takes Boare away. The angry guy shouts, OMG, and WTF. Later Duku drives Boare home, but Boare refuses to go back. As Boare yells at Duku to turn around, a traffic officer stops their car. The officer asks what's happening. He says this is a stolen car. They must go to the police station. At the police station, Boare calls her father. She complains about him reporting the car as stolen. She tells him to drop the charges, but her father ignores her request. He tells her to stay and think about her actions. So Boare and Duku are stuck at the station feeling bored. Duku asks why Boare went to the dance club. He thinks she didn't enjoy it there. Boare asks how he knows she didn't like it. Duku quickly changes the subject. He asks why she talked about suicide at the hospital. The weather isn't even good for a funeral right now. Boare looks very sad after hearing this. She says she's too tired, too sad, too lonely. As Duku hesitates whether to shed some tears in response, Boare suddenly laughs and says she was joking. She adds she was just acting for others to see. She never really thought about dying, but Duku can see her real weakness now. Then the police let them both go. Duku asks Boare where she wants to go. He says, since he's her temporary driver, anywhere she wants he'll take her there. But Boare isn't grateful. She calls Duku annoying. She mocks him, asking if he has feelings for her. She says she's not interested in him at all. Duku then asks Boare if pretending to be tough, acting like she doesn't care, makes her happy. He says sometimes being honest is better. Telling others about your weakness makes life a little easier. After saying this, Duku prepares to leave. Just then Boare calls out to stop him. She asks if he really meant to take her anywhere. Duku then drives Boare to a seaside spot. Boare tells Duku to wait in the car. She walks alone to the cliff by the sea. Seeing this, Duku thinks she might hurt herself. He quickly runs after her, but when he reaches the top, he realizes Boare is just remembering her late family at a grave. Duku finally feels relieved. Soon after Boare gets ready to leave, Duku hands her a bunch of lily-of-the-valley flowers. He also tells her these flowers mean happiness will surely come. Duku guesses the person in the grave must be Boare's mom. He says since Boare visited her, her mom must be happy too. Hearing this, Boare takes the flowers and cries a river of tears. Duku drives Boare back home. Her father, President Kim, sees them and calls Duku inside. Before Duku can react, President Kim gently touches his handsome face. Not only that, President Kim thinks Duku is a lazy guy after money. He even mocks him asking how much he wants. Seeing this, Boare tries to explain for Duku, but the bodyguards keep stopping her. After Boare is taken out by the bodyguards, President Kim immediately takes out 4 million won and slams it on the table as an insult. He then tells Duku to take the money and leave. Facing this insult that others might envy, Duku stays calm. He asks President Kim if he always treats his daughter this way. He adds that he only took Boare to her mother's grave. He says he has no relationship with Boare. Then he asks President Kim, is it so wrong for a child to miss her mother? With that, Duku leaves without taking the money. After he leaves, President Kim gets very angry. He yells at Boare for going to the cemetery. Boare asks him back, is it so wrong for a sister to see her brother? In anger, Boare says her father caused her brother's death. Hearing this, President Kim explodes in rage. He slaps Boare across the face. Then he kicks her out. He says he doesn't need a daughter like her. Boare leaves with tears streaming down her face. The next day, President Kim sends Boare to the U.S. Before leaving, Boare finds Duku. She thanks him. Then Boare is taken to the airport, but on the way Boare calls President Kim to say goodbye. She sneaks away when the driver isn't looking. When President Kim hears Boare is missing, he quickly sends people to search for her. Duku hears the news and suddenly remembers Boare and might have gone to the cemetery. He rushes there. As she slowly walks toward the cliff, Duku hugs her from behind. He begs her not to die, crying loudly. Feeling his warm body and rough stubble, Boare changes her mind. With Duku's comfort, she finds hope again. Soon Boare's father arrives. Boare gets so emotional she faints. President Kim tells his men to carry her to the car. As President Kim prepares to leave, he sees Duku standing nearby. He walks over and thanks Duku deeply. Then President Kim takes Boare home. After this, President Kim changes completely. He hugs Boare tightly. He apologizes to her. Boare also feels sorry toward her father. She keeps saying sorry to her father. This is how the father and daughter make up. The next day, Boare looks at the lily of the valley from Duku and feels full of positive energy. She immediately gives herself a nice makeover. Then she drives her van to Duku's boxing gym. There she meets Sung-ri, who has always liked Duku. When she sees a stranger looking for Duku, Sung-ri acts unfriendly. But proud Boare ignores her completely. Instead, she tells her workers to carry many gifts into the boxing gym. Seeing all these organic fruits and boxes of braised pork, the simple boxers start drooling. But Duku stays calm. He thinks he shouldn't accept such expensive gifts from Boare. But Boare says she must repay him for saving her life. She insists on giving him the gifts. She says this is the only way she knows how to show thanks. Only then will she feel better. Seeing how determined she is, and not wanting to hurt her feelings, Duku finally accepts. He promises to enjoy the food. After this, Boare starts to like Duku too. But Boare's appearance makes Sung-ri, who likes Duku, feel threatened. She goes to the mall to ask Chung Shik about Boare, wanting to impress the girl he likes. Chung Shik makes up stories. Chung Shik lies that Boare is a bad girl who flirts with every guy. Sung-ri gets really worried after hearing this. She immediately goes to find Boare. Without saying a word, she fills a cup with cola. Then she challenges Boare to a drinking contest. She says the winner gets permanent rights to Duku. Actually, Boare and Duku aren't even dating, but the situation has already escalated. For her pride as a woman, Boare accepts the challenge anyway. Soon after, Duku and Chung Shik hear about it and rush over. By then, Sung-ri is completely drunk. Chung Shik takes Sung-ri home. Seeing this ridiculous scene, Duku asks Boare what happened, but Boare unexpectedly says, "Hey, Han Duku, you're mine now." Then Boare passes out. Duku has no choice but to carry Boare home. Boare seems happier than ever. She sings folk songs all the way home. The next morning, when she wakes up, Boare remembers her drunk behavior. She feels extremely embarrassed. Later she goes to see Duku again, but Duku accidentally spills dirty water all over her. So Duku has to take her to his room. He lets her change into his clothes, but unexpectedly Sung-ri sees Boare wearing Duku's clothes. She mistakenly thinks they're together. She gets extremely jealous. She grabs Boare's hair and drags her out. Then she pushes her onto the smooth floor. She yells at Boare, calling her a troublemaker who flirts with guys. She says, Duku told her this. Boare gets very angry. She leaves without looking back. Duku sees this and runs after her to explain, but Boare won't listen. She mocks Duku for being two-faced. They end up parting on bad terms. Later, Duku scolds Sung-ri. He tells her, Boare isn't that kind of girl. Sung-ri soon finds out Chung Shik lied. She feels very embarrassed. Coincidentally, it's Sung-ri's birthday. Duku prepares a gift for her. He tells her to get it from his room, but Sung-ri accidentally takes Boare's dirty clothes from earlier. She wears Boare's clothes to apologize to her. She even brags it's Duku's birthday gift. Boare almost laughs herself silly. To get back at Sung-ri, Boare exposes the truth right to her face. Boare points out it's her own clothes. Sung-ri looks confused. Boare brings up what happened at the gym last time. She says those were just clothes. She had to leave there. She mocks Duku for giving them as a gift. She tells Sung-ri to stop fooling herself. Sung-ri can't believe what she's hearing. Before she can recover, Boare keeps mocking Sung-ri. She says Duku doesn't like her back. This makes Sung-ri lose her temper. She tears open the package and gives it back to Boare. She also tells Boare she originally came to apologize. She shouldn't have called Boare an easy woman, and Duku never said Boare was easy either. But now she thinks Boare is just terrible. Duku shouldn't have saved Boare when she tried to kill herself. He should have let her die. Sung-ri storms off angrily. Boare is left feeling guilty. Sung-ri walks home sadly in just her tank top. Meanwhile, friends at the gym prepare for her birthday party. But just then they see Sung-ri return in her tank top. After Sung-ri tearfully explains, Duku learns Boare humiliated her. This makes Duku furious, so he goes to find Boare without saying a word. He scolds her. He blames her for being too cruel and direct. She shouldn't have said she only sees Sung-ri as a sister. But Boare argues back. She says, hiding the truth is the cruelest thing to Sung-ri. Then Duku accuses Boare again. He asks why she didn't care about Sung-ri coming home in a tank top. He questions if she ever thought Sung-ri would feel ashamed and miserable. Finally, he calls Boare heartless. He says she doesn't care about others' feelings. After saying this, Duku leaves angrily. Just then Boare takes off her shoe and throws it at Duku. She shouts at him. She asks if only they are kind. She asks if only they are human. She says she was worried too when Sung-ri took off her clothes and ran out. She was also very concerned. The next day, Duku finds Sung-ri. He apologizes to her. He says he knew she liked him for a long time, but he can't accept her feelings because he doesn't have room in his heart to love anyone else. Then he gives Sung-ri the real gift. He congratulates her. Finally, Sung-ri lets go of her feelings. Meanwhile, Boare, who has muscle weakness, goes to the hospital for a checkup. Coincidentally, the doctor is Gian Wu, whom she once had a blind date with. Since that blind date, Gian Wu hasn't been able to forget about Boare. He's eager to spark a romance with her, but Boare straight up rejects him. She says she'll never get married in her life. But Jian Wu isn't ready to give up. He keeps bothering Boare. Fed up, Boare slaps Jian Wu hard. Even so, Jian Wu still won't give up. Soon after, Jian Wu finds Boare again. Seeing how persistent he is, Boare reluctantly agrees to go on a date with him. They head to the aquarium. Boare acts grumpy the whole way, but soon a few seals swim. By watching the chubby, yet cute seals, Boare starts to feel differently about Jian Wu. Meanwhile, To thank Duku for saving Boare, President Kim calls Duku over. He tells Duku to ask for anything he wants. But Duku doesn't want anything, so he politely declines President Kim's offer. Seeing his firm refusal, President Kim doesn't push further. He tells Duku to come to him anytime if needed. Duku thanks him and prepares to leave, but he accidentally knocks over President Kim's chessboard. President Kim doesn't mind. He says he'll clean it up. Then he turns away to answer a phone call. While he's on the phone, Duku uses his perfect memory to put every chess piece back in its exact place. When President Kim returns to his seat, he's shocked by what he sees. A question starts bothering him. To find the answer, President Kim calls his assistant. He tells the assistant to look at the chessboard. Then he asks him to put the pieces back. The assistant almost laughs out loud. He says he's no genius and can't restore the board after one glance. Now President Kim suspects Duku has a photographic memory. To test his theory, President Kim calls Duku back later. He says he's playing chess with his assistant, but is about to lose. He asks Duku for help, but Duku awkwardly says he doesn't know how to play. So President Kim messes up the board on purpose and mutters to himself that his assistant will accuse him of cheating. Duku stays calm. When he sees this, using his amazing memory again, he puts all the chess pieces back in place. Facing this situation, President Kim is completely amazed, wanting to help Duku. His liking for Duku grows even more. But what he doesn't know is Duku is truly not an ordinary person. Many years ago, he was known as a national child genius. But after his best friend's sudden suicide, he ran away from home. When he finally calmed down and returned, his mother was already deep in debt from searching for him. In the end, she disappeared to escape the debt. All these years, he has been searching for his mother. Luckily, he finally gets news about his mother, who has been missing for 8 years. He hears she opened a small restaurant alone on the other side of town to hide from debt collectors. He rushes there immediately, but just then he sees a cruel debt collector demanding money from his mother. Even though she begs for more time, the debt collector refuses to listen. Seeing all this, Duku feels heartbroken. He wants to reunite with his mother, but she doesn't welcome him warmly. Instead, she yells at him to get out. His sudden disappearance has already caused her great suffering. Duku knows it's his fault, so he kneels before his mother. But even then his mother still won't forgive him. She keeps shouting at him to leave, to beg for her forgiveness. Duku asks what he can do to make it right. His mother harshly demands 30 million won to pay her debts. Hearing this, Duku doesn't hesitate. He rushes back to the boxing gym. He plans to borrow money from the owner, but to his surprise, the owner has been living on loans for 50 years. Not only does he have no money to lend, he even asks Duku for 40 million won. With no other choice, Duku goes to the bank, but they reject him too. The only good news is his friend Chung Shik gives him all his savings. But Chung Shik's savings are just a drop in the bucket. As Chung Shik complains about not having any rich friends, Duku remembers President Kim's words, "Come to me anytime you need help." To reunite with his mother, Duku decides to swallow his pride. He quickly goes to find President Kim. Duku asks President Kim for a loan. Facing this genius boy, President Kim happily agrees. Not only that, President Kim also gives him a job. He becomes the personal driver for President Kim's daughter. But President Kim doesn't know. Duku is connected to his son's death. He's a super genius with an IQ of 250. He ranks first in every subject. But today he loses to a new transfer student. This first ever defeat makes genius boy Jihi feel bitter. From then on, Jihi competes fiercely with transfer student Han Tae-woong. Whether in math, physics, or chemistry, Jihi always tries to beat Tae-woong. Even in PE class, Jihi wants to prove he's better. But though Jihi wants to win, Tae-woong doesn't care about competing. He has no interest in their rivalry. Soon after the math teacher assigns an essay, Tae-woong's paper amazes all his classmates. Jihi can't believe it either. Proud Jihi immediately checks many sources to prove Tae-woong cheated. When class begins, the teacher praises Jihi and Tae-woong's papers highly. But right at that moment, Jihi shows evidence that Tae-woong copied his work. The teacher gets very angry. After seeing it, he immediately calls Tae-woong's mother. What hurts Tae-woong the most is his mother doesn't believe him either. She scolds him harshly without even listening to his side. Her doubt makes him feel heartbroken. In anger, he decides to skip school. Just then he meets a girl at the library. This girl is very spoiled. She spots a fairy tale book called The Snow Queen in the library. She offers to pay 10 times the price for it. But this isn't a bookstore. So the librarian scolds her and refuses. He turns her down. Showing off her money catches the attention of some troublemakers. When she steps outside, the troublemakers surround her. They take all her money and belongings. Just then Tae-woong appears and chases the troublemakers away. Afterward, Tae-woong buys her brain-boosting supplements and even gives her money for a ride home. This deeply touches the girl. To stay in touch with Tae-woong, she immediately takes out. She gives Tae-woong the latest pager. She says she'll return the bus fare next time. She sees him the next day. Tae-woong gets a page from the girl. But when he reaches the airport, he realizes the girl actually wants to secretly take a flight. She asks him to buy the ticket, but the girl doesn't know. Tae-woong is also underage, so they can't buy the ticket. This makes the girl very upset. As they prepare to eat, the ticket clerk brings airport security. Seeing the security, the girl grabs Tae-woong and runs. Before Tae-woong understands what's happening, she pulls him onto the airport runway. Then they start running in a way that looks fun, but I'd never admit I want to try. Later they spend the day at an amusement park and ride something I'd never admit I want to try, the Ferris wheel. During this time, Tae-woong learns the girl's dream destination is Lapland from the Snow Queen fairy tale. When saying goodbye, they set a time to meet again. Meanwhile, Jong-kyu's girlfriend accidentally finds proof that Tae-woong didn't cheat. She shows the evidence to the teacher. This clears Tae-woong's name. Jong-kyu feels very guilty for falsely accusing Tae-woong. He goes to Tae-woong's family street food stall. He says he wants to eat noodles, but he really wants to apologize to Tae-woong. Before he can speak, some troublemakers arrive at the stall. Seeing the trouble, Jong-kyu steps in to help, but he gets beaten up badly. After this incident, the two boys stop fighting and become best friends. In the following days, they study together, share daily life, and look at censored pictures together. Tae-woong learns that Jong-kyu's original dream was to be a boxer, but his father wanted him to be a mathematician. Being an obedient son, Jong-kyu made his father's wish his only goal for this competition. Jong-kyu is determined to win. He's also the favorite to win, but surprisingly Tae-woong becomes the champion. This shocks proud Jong-kyu like lightning. He becomes very jealous of Tae-woong. Hurt by this, he has a big fight with Tae-woong. As he walks home, feeling lost and heartbroken, a speeding truck comes straight at him. He doesn't try to avoid it. When Tae-woong hears the tragic news, he's devastated. He blames himself entirely for Jong-kyu's death. Because of this, Tae-woong forgets his promise to the girl. The girl waits all day in the heavy rain, but her appa never comes. This girl is actually young Boare. On his first day at work, spoiled rich girl, Boare, starts mocking him. She sneers that money is wonderful, saying she thought they'd never meet again. Then adds she didn't expect to see him like this, fake smiling that she's happy to see him. Then she deliberately takes Duku to the shop where her friend Chung Shik works, claiming she'll buy Duku proper driver shoes. But her real goal is to embarrass Duku in front of her friend. Smart Duku immediately sees through her plan, so he calls her out without hesitation. This makes Boare feel annoyed, so she turns and walks away. To keep humiliating Duku, Boare makes many strict rules for him and asks loudly in front of others why Duku borrowed so much money. She also asks if Sungri knows he's working as her driver. After all this nagging, Duku feels worse than Monkey King hearing Tang Monk's chants. When everyone else leaves the elevator, he finally says, Boare can criticize him all she wants, but not mention Sungri. He refuses to discuss personal matters with her. He's just a professional driver who drives properly. Then he steps out of the elevator. Boare feels annoyed by his response. As soon as they reach the parking lot, she snatches the car keys from Duku. She fires him on the spot. Then she tells him to get lost. But Duku says President Kim hired him. Angry, Boare throws her shoe at him. Duku still insists she get in the car. As he picks up the shoe, Boare angrily climbs into the driver's seat. Before Duku can react, she speeds off at 180 miles per hour in the tractor-branded van. Then she crashes into a wall. Back home, Chief O scolds Duku. Boare watches with a smug look. After Chief O leaves, she proudly tells Duku this is just the beginning. She warns him to be ready. Later Duku gives his mom the 30 million won he borrowed. But even after this his mother still won't forgive him. So Duku leaves sadly. Later Duku drives Boare to school, as President Kim ordered, but Boare strongly refuses. She even tries to jump out of the car. This leads to another big fight between them. Then Boare goes clothes shopping at the wholesale market. When she sees Duku following her, Boare gets very annoyed. To get rid of Duku, she agrees to go on a date with a random guy. When they reach the parking lot, Boare ditches the guy, saying it was just a joke. This makes the guy very angry. He forcefully drags Boare onto his convertible tractor. At this dangerous moment, Duku appears. The guy tries to fight Duku using his special fighting moves, but Duku knocks him down with one move. The guy becomes as tame as a cow. Afterwards, Duku tries to comfort Boare, but Boare argues with him again. Seeing how much Boare hates him, Duku says he'll quit his driver job. But when he tries to resign the next day, Boare won't let him quit. She says they still haven't gotten back the 30 million won they lent him, so she can't just let him leave. Duku then realizes Boare is all talk, but actually kind-hearted. Later they go to the school library. While helping Boare find math materials, Duku gets drawn to a math research paper. It reminds him of his late friend Jonkyu. He starts reading it with great interest. Boare quietly watches him read for over an hour, facing a paper even she can't understand. Boare grows very curious about Duku. As Boare leaves the library, Gian Wu approaches her again. Seeing someone bothering Boare, Duku steps in immediately. When Gian Wu turns around, Duku recognizes him as the doctor he met at the hospital. After clearing the misunderstanding, Gian Wu invites Boare to dinner again. This time Boare agrees. Duku goes to submit Boare's homework. Just then he notices she left one problem blank. He habitually solves it himself, but before he can erase it, a student collects the papers. The next day comes Boare gets high praise from the professor right away. This makes Boare very confused, so she asks Duku about it. She accuses him of writing her homework. She also asks Han Duku who he really is. Duku says he copied it from somewhere. Boare doesn't believe him. She tells him to find the book he copied from in the library, but Duku says he can't find it. This makes Boare very angry that Duku has no choice but to say he'll keep looking. Just then he spots a fairy tale called the Snow Queen. Boare sees this and scolds him for not searching for the book. Duku asks if she knows where the Snow Queen lives. Boare says it's Lapland. Duku is surprised. Few people know that. Boare asks how he knows. Duku then tells her about a little girl he met 8 years ago. Boare is shocked when she hears this, because that little girl was her. Boare can't believe it. The oppa she's been thinking about for 8 years is right in front of her. But Duku doesn't recognize Boare, and Boare isn't ready to tell him the truth yet. So she leaves without saying anything. This leaves Han Duku completely confused. He thinks Boare is mad because he thinks Boare is angry because she couldn't find the book to copy from. So that night he stays up late to finish the math report. The next day he plans to give the report to Boare, but Boare already admits she copied the work. The professor punishes her by making her sing a folk song. Just as Boare feels extremely embarrassed, Duku sneaks in and raises his hand to take the punishment for her. He even calls himself Boare's Black Knight. This makes the whole class burst into laughter. Then Duku walks up to the front. He sings the folk song with his terrible voice. The students laugh louder as he sings. Boare is so embarrassed she wishes she could disappear after class. Duku says he helped Boare out of trouble. He thinks she should thank him. Boare asks what he wants as thanks. Duku tells her to call him Appa since he's older. But Boare doesn't seem happy about it. Seeing this, Duku says he was just joking. But as he turns to leave, Boare speaks up. She calls him Appa. She asks if he thought she wouldn't say it. Then she calls him a dummy. Finally they start running together, both happy but too shy to admit it. They playfully chase each other, but right at that moment Boare suddenly faints. Duku quickly takes Boare to the hospital. After asking Gian Wu about her condition, Duku learns that Boare has had muscle weakness since childhood. The next day Boare notices Duku didn't go to work, so she goes to find him. After asking, she discovers Duku once ran away from home after an accident and his mother still hasn't forgiven him. Boare suggests Duku keep visiting his mother. She tells him to go again tomorrow and keep going until she forgives him. She adds that his mother waited 8 years, so forgiveness won't come easily. That Duku thinks this makes sense. From then on he visits his mother every day asking for her forgiveness. Soon after, Boare and Duku go to the airport to see President Kim off. After he leaves they start chatting. Duku looks at the runway and mentions meeting the little girl. Again, Boare teasingly asks why he didn't show up that day. Duku suddenly remembers the painful memory of his friend's death. not wanting to talk about it. He says he forgot the reason. This makes Boare upset instantly. After waiting for him for 8 years, she immediately makes a decision that goes against her family's wishes. She runs onto the airplane runway. She keeps crying and shouting that she was the little girl that day. But Duku is too far away because security stops him. He can't hear what Boare is shouting. When she gets home, Boare makes another decision against her family's wishes. She decides not to hold back anymore. She asks Duku to meet her at the amusement park at 2 p.m. on Saturday. She tells him he must come this time. She also says that place reminds her of a man. Now she decides to tell Duku that she was the little girl. But Duku feels confused after hearing this. That night, Gian Wu finds Duku. He says he has romantic feelings for Boare. Duku remembers his talk with Boare. He thinks Boare wants a man, so he decides to help them. On the day of the meeting, Boare arrives at the amusement park early. It rains heavily again that day, but the person who comes isn't the one she wants. So the story drags on for 10 more episodes. The man suddenly realizes that the rich girl he serves is the little girl he liked 8 years ago. He quickly runs to tell Boare about it, but it's already too late. Boare has agreed to date. Jian Wu, who has been pursuing her before Duku, can react. Boare even brings Jian Wu home to meet her father. Seeing this scene, Duku feels terrible inside, but he still wishes Boare happiness. Then he apologizes to Boare. Boare asks him why. Duku says it's because he broke his promise twice. Only then does Boare realize the appa she missed for years has finally recognized her. Duku explains that Boare changed so much he couldn't recognize her right away. He hopes she won't hate him. Boare teases him back, saying Duku changed even more. He was a handsome appa when they were kids, but now he's just a scruffy bearded uncle. Hearing this, Duku subconsciously touches his beard. The next day comes and Duku wears a sharp clean suit. When Sung-ri sees him, his drool from 1982 almost floods the floor. At the same time, Boare and her father grow closer. Noticing her father's old tie, she goes to the mall to buy him a new one. She picks up an extra tie too. She notices Duku doesn't own a tie. Sung-ri happens to see her. When he sees the tie costs 230,000 won, he angrily criticizes capitalism. Then he walks away in disgust. Boare is confused by his reaction. But when she turns around, she sees Sung-ri bargaining with the clerk, learning he wants to buy a tie for Duku. Boare lends him money, so she ends up giving the tie to Jian Wu instead. This shows the benefit of having a backup. Useless things can still be recycled. It's good for the environment. Meanwhile, President Kim notices Duku's special talent. He offers to support Duku's education. But Duku feels he's already received too much help from President Kim, so he politely declines. Later, Duku visits his mother again. She treats him slightly better, but still hasn't fully forgiven him. Duku asks his mother if she would forgive his mistakes if he continues his studies. She stays silent. This is the real reason she can't forgive him. Soon after, the boxing coach visits Duku's mother. He tells her how Duku became depressed after his friend's death, and how he ended up staying at the boxing gym. Only then does Duku's mother realize he has been living as his friend for 8 years. So she goes to find Duku. She advises him not to live for others and not to give up what he loves for anyone. Seeing his mother has forgiven him, Duku starts to make peace with his broken heart over his friend's death. The next day, Duku visits the old professor he knew from Boare's school. He decides to continue his interrupted studies. After some tests, the professor sees his potential and agrees to mentor him. This makes Duku very happy. Soon after, Duku and Boare visit a facility. They're attending a ribbon cutting for President Kim. But Bola only realizes from the banner it's a care center for muscular disease patients. Boare feels heavy-hearted. During the ceremony, Duku notices her sadness. After the event, Duku can't find Boare anywhere. After searching, he finds her by the lake. Seeing it's Duku, Boare starts sharing her feelings with Duku. She says she understands her father's plan. He built this nice orphanage in this beautiful place, that it's for her to have a peaceful place to rest in case he passes away someday. But Boare feels scared. What if she dies first? Duku encourages her to stay strong. He tells her not to overthink. As they leave the place, Boare accidentally falls and gets hurt. Duku quickly takes her to the clinic. The wound is quite big. The doctor prepares to give anesthesia and stitch it, but Boare says she's allergic to anesthesia. So Boare gets stitched up without any painkillers. Duku feels more and more sorry for her after the procedure. Looking at sleeping Boare, Duku wants to pat her head, but he stops himself. All this is seen by Boare's official boyfriend, Gian Wu. This makes him very uneasy. Sungri brings Dong Pil to the hospital for a checkup. After the examination, Gian Wu talks to Sungri about Duku. Gian Wu learns from Sungri that Duku was Boare's first love when they were kids. Gian Wu is so shocked that his diaper gets full. Gian Wu finds Boare in front of everyone. He starts talking about his past relationships with 3 ex-girlfriends. Then he confesses his feelings to Boare. He hopes this will make Boare tell him about her past with Duku. But Boare feels embarrassed and nervous. She gets up and leaves. Gian Wu quickly runs after her. Boare angrily asks Gian Wu how he can say such cheesy things without blinking an eye. Gian Wu asks if Boare likes him. Boare hesitates for a moment. She asks why she would date him if she didn't like him. Hearing this, Gian Wu finally relaxes. Meanwhile, Duku stares at his $200 per pound hand, remembering how he helped Boare at the hospital. When he finally notices Boare is standing right behind him, afraid she'll see through him, Duku stammers nervously. This makes Boare very confused. In the following days, Boare wants to thank her father for building her a recovery center. She starts studying hard every day, but the library is too comfortable for sleeping. She falls fast asleep as soon as she arrives here. Seeing Boare sleeping like a beauty, Duku sinks another 10 centimeters into his feelings. He can't help but lean closer and starts admiring Boare's face. Overcome with emotion, he even uses his rough hands to gently touch Boare's cheek. Just then Boare wakes up, still drowsy. She asks Duku what time it is. When she hears it's already 10 p.m., Boare scolds Duku for not waking her. She insists Duku stay to keep her company all night. But surprisingly, Duku gets up and goes home just as Boare feels upset. Gian Wu calls her after leaving the library. Duku regrets his earlier actions. Then he sees Gian Wu coming to pick up Boare, so he quietly hides himself. Boare glances back as she leaves with Gian Wu, but Duku is already gone. She walks away with Gian Wu. Duku watches them leave with sadness. He walks home with an empty stomach. Later he visits his mother again, after helping her carry things home. This time, she lets him stay overnight. Seeing his mother slowly forgive him, Duku feels deeply comforted. The next day comes. To fully reassure his mother, Duku starts his studies under the professor's guidance. After the lesson ends, Duku gets a call from Sungri. He asks him to bring Boare along. When they return to the boxing gym, they realize Sungri wants their help making pickled cabbage. Boare, being a rich girl, isn't happy about it, but the usually bossy Sungri acts differently. He praises Boare for being so pretty, even if she doesn't work. Just supervising is enough. The guys at the gym will do the work. Boare likes the flattery, so she agrees to stay together. They make the famous pickled cabbage with love and hard work. Everyone is busy working. Boare just sits and watches them. Sungri teases Boare by feeding Duku snacks. Boare scolds Duku for not working hard. Duku is confused by night. The pickled cabbage is finally done. Boare, who never worked before, feels proud. Her mood improves. She asks Duku if she can visit the gym again when she's bored or upset. Duku smiles and says yes. Just then snow starts falling from the sky. Boare is super happy. She immediately closes her eyes to make a wish. Seeing this scene, Duku suddenly feels the spicy pickled cabbage he ate earlier hitting him. He instantly feels the weather is very dry. To avoid dehydration, he quickly moves his 15-centimeter mouth close to Boare's face. The woman slaps him across the face. She tells him this isn't love. Then she angrily walks away without looking back, leaving Duku standing there stunned. After returning home, Boare thinks about what just happened. She still feels extremely angry. Even in bed, she keeps tossing and turning. Her blankets almost catch fire from friction, but she still can't sleep. Meanwhile, Duku deeply regrets his actions. He listens to The Punishment of Impulse by Dao Lang all night, but still feels awful. The next day, Duku wants to apologize to Boare, but Boare refuses to listen to him. She walks straight to President Kim and demands to change drivers. President Kim finds this strange. Boare says Han Duku is too rude. She can't stand being around him. Seeing how determined Boare is, President Kim agrees to her request. But since it's so sudden, President Kim asks Duku to drive Boare one last time. But Boare is still angry. She doesn't want Duku to drive her at all. She calls a taxi and leaves by herself. Duku quickly drives after her. He stops Boare at the hospital entrance. He apologizes to her again. But Boare feels he's different from others. If another man did this, she'd slap him and forget about it. But she always saw Duku as her big brother. She trusted and relied on him completely. Yet he still crossed the line. So she can't forgive him. Duku tries to say more, but Boare says she never wants to see him again. Then she walks away angrily. As Duku stands there helpless, an old classmate walks by. She recognizes Duku immediately. Duku also recognizes her, his high school classmate Jihi. They start catching up seeing Duku like this. Jihi knows he still blames himself for Jongkyu's death. Before leaving, Jihi comforts Duku. She says Jongkyu's death wasn't his fault. She tells him not to be sad anymore. Duku feels a little better after hearing this. In the following days, Duku tries to numb his pain by focusing on driving President Kim's van. He gradually stops contacting Boare, but after dropping President Kim off each time, he always looks toward Boare's room. He desperately wants her forgiveness. He hopes to see her again. Boare also struggles without Duku around. Whenever she needs help, she accidentally calls out Duku's name, but someone else always shows up instead. Feeling conflicted like this, she becomes more and more irritable. When a store clerk gives her the wrong item, she curses at them angrily, insulting their whole family. Even when Gian Wu tries to calm her down, she refuses to listen. To cheer her up, Gian Wu takes her to a cafe for some expensive coffee. But suddenly Boare hears a familiar voice. It's her birth mother. Boare's face turns pale. She stands up to leave. Her mother quickly notices her. She immediately walks toward her. But when her mom greets her, Boare looks disgusted because her mom abandoned them. She ran away with her dad's subordinate. So Boare still hates her mom. Her mom begs for forgiveness, but Boare yells at her. She says she'll never forgive her. Then she turns and leaves. Gian Wu sees everything. He pulls Boare and tells her to apologize. Boare refuses. They have a big fight. They part angrily. That night Boare disappears. Her family searches, but can't find her. So they call Duku. Duku starts searching everywhere. Then he remembers Boare's words. When she's bored or has nowhere to go, or when she's upset, she asks if she can still go there. He rushes back to the boxing gym. There he finds Boare. She cries and calls him Appa. Duku hugs her to check her temperature. Then he makes her a cup of fresh Kopi Luwak coffee with Duku comforting her. Boare starts opening up her heart. Only then does Duku realize Boare actually has an older brother. The cemetery they visited earlier wasn't her mother's grave, it was her brother's. At Boare's request, Duku takes Boare back to the cemetery. Meanwhile, after fighting with Boare, her boyfriend, Gian Wu, wants to make up with her, but the maid, Duknam, tells him Boare went to a friend's house. Gian Wu immediately senses Duknam is lying. He calls Duku right away, but Duku purposely removes his phone battery. This makes Gian Wu even more worried. He goes to the boxing gym and waits there all night, but Duku never shows up. At the same time, Duku and Boare arrive at the cemetery again. After paying their respects, they go to the beach together. Boare asks Duku if he thinks she's ridiculous. Duku doesn't understand what she means. Boare says she swore she wouldn't see him again, but he's still the first person she thinks of when something happens. Duku says he never thought that way. Then he asks if Boare is still mad at him. Boare suddenly remembers earlier when Duku forced her to drink water. But now Boare isn't angry anymore, so she says she already forgot about it. Hearing this, Duku immediately smiles with relief. Then the two play happily together by the beach. Meanwhile, Gian Wu feels jealous when he hears Duku is back. He immediately touches Duku's handsome face gently. Then he tells Duku, "When you hung up on me yesterday, you should have expected this." He also warns Duku not to have any wrong ideas about Boare. Later, Gian Wu finds Boare and asks why it had to be Duku who went with her. Boare says it's because she feels comfortable with him. Gian Wu asks if it's not because he's her first love. Boare looks surprised. Gian Wu says he already knew. He tells Boare not to do things that make him suspicious. Then he leaves angrily. Boare is left feeling helpless. After Gian Wu leaves, Duku sits by the ring, lost in thought. Chung Shik sees this and comforts him. He says Gian Wu is overreacting and tells Duku not to mind it. But Duku says he has developed feelings for Boare. He asks if it's okay to just quietly. Is even this not allowed? Soon after, Gian Wu takes Boare to a work gathering. He proudly announces that Boare is his fiancée. Boare looks very uncomfortable, but Gian Wu won't let it go. He keeps saying they're getting married soon. Then the co-workers suggest a 3-day ski trip. They joke if Gian Wu and Boare need just one room. Gian Wu quickly says of course they do. Boare feels uneasy hearing this. She immediately takes Gian Wu outside. She asks why he made decisions without her. Gian Wu asks why it's okay for her to go to the beach with Duku at night, but a ski trip with him is making decisions alone. He doesn't know who Boare is really dating. Boare says she's serious about Gian Wu. She thinks his words are too harsh. As Boare turns to leave, Gian Wu says he doesn't care what else she does, but he can't stand that when she's sad or upset she thinks of Duku, not him. Boare has no reply. The next day, Duku gives Boare a gift. He says it was meant for her 8 years ago when they were supposed to meet at the amusement park. He never expected the accident would delay it until now. When Boare opens it, she discovers it's actually the Snow Queen book she wanted 8 years ago. Inside is also a letter describing all their shared memories from when they first met. Boare is deeply moved after reading it. Her heart begins to waver at this moment. The next day, Gian Wu asks Boare to meet him and presents her with an engagement ring. With her heart already uncertain, Boare immediately refuses. Meanwhile, Duku visits his old classmate Jihi at the hospital. After some small talk, Duku learns a shocking secret. Boare is actually the sister of his late friend Jongkyu. This fills his heart with pain. Once again he goes to the person he loves and, without a word, pulls her into his 42 degrees Celsius embrace. Then he keeps apologizing to Boare before suddenly running away. This confusing behavior leaves Boare completely baffled. Duku then runs through clouds of car exhaust fumes. Memories of his friend Jongkyu flash through his mind one after another. His heart grows heavier. He keeps running for 42 kilometers until he reaches Jongkyu's grave. Before the grave can react, he collapses onto the grave. He cries while touching the grass on the grave and keeps apologizing. Meanwhile, Boare notices Duku didn't come to work. He doesn't answer his phone either. Remembering Duku's strange behavior last night, Boare grows worried. She goes to the boxing gym. Just then she finds Duku lying unconscious on the floor. After some care, Duku remains confused. Boare quickly calls Gian Wu for help. Soon after Gian Wu arrives, he sees Boare caring for Duku without caring about her appearance. This makes Gian Wu feel upset. After Gian Wu's treatment, Duku slowly gets better. Gian Wu offers to take Boare home, but Boare apologizes to him, saying she can't leave because she can't leave Duku alone here. Gian Wu realizes he's been completely betrayed. His heart breaks completely. He leaves full of anger and sadness. When Duku wakes up, they sit by the boxing ring. Boare asks Duku what happened. Duku tells Boare. He says he once had a very close friend, but that friend died because of him. So he's been running away. He doesn't even know where his friend is buried. He only found out yesterday. So today he went to see that friend. Boare asks what kind of person his friend was. Duku says his friend was awkward and didn't treat himself well, but he had a fragile heart. Boare thinks he sounds just like her brother. She says her brother was like that too. Hearing this makes Duku even sadder. Then Duku takes Boare to his mom's kitchen. Seeing Duku suddenly bring a woman, his mom is very surprised. After Boare finishes eating, Mom asks Duku who the girl is. Duku says Mom once told him to bring someone he likes here for a meal, but he's afraid if he misses today, he won't get another chance. So he brought her now. Mom doesn't understand. Duku says the girl is his friend, Jongkyu's sister. Hearing this, Mom is shocked. The next day, Duku goes to see President Kim. He tells President Kim there's some trouble at home. He wants to quit his job as a driver. President Kim asks what his plans are. Duku says he plans to continue his studies. President Kim feels happy to hear this, but he asks Duku for one more favor. He wants him to get a painting from his countryside villa. When Duku gets the painting, he accidentally enters Jongkyu's room. Looking at Jongkyu's belongings, Duku remembers their happy memories together. Duku's heart slowly feels at peace after bringing the painting to President Kim's office. President Kim talks about his son Jongkyu with Duku. He says Duku's presence helps him gradually face Jongkyu's death. He admits he caused Jongkyu's death himself. Though people blame Jongkyu's friend, he knows it wasn't the friend's fault. Duku feels deeply moved by this. He asks if President Kim wants to meet Jong-kyu's friend, but President Kim says no. It would make him think of his son and hurt too much, so it's better not to meet. At the same time, Gian Wu finds Boare. He officially breaks up with her. Then he takes back the pedometer he gave her. Since they started dating, Boare has walked 95,893 steps. This shows their relationship was meaningless from the start. Soon after Boare finally learns that Duku has quit his job, she feels completely shocked. She immediately rushes to the boxing gym. She asks Duku why he quit. She says he shouldn't quit because of Gian Wu. She already gave up on Gian Wu, but Duku shows no reaction. He tells her not to come anymore. Seeing Duku ignore her, Boare uses her secret weapon. She loudly confesses she likes him. She shouts that she loves Han Duku, but the poor guy rejects her right away. The rich girl won't give up. She hugs him from behind. She wraps her arms around his waist. Her warm touch starts to melt his heart. His strong will begins to weaken. Just then his friends show up. Seeing this scene, his friends freeze in shock. Embarrassed, Boare runs away. She quickly leaves the boxing gym. Duku chases after her. He asks why she said those things. Boare says she didn't come to confess, but her feelings are real. Then she walks away. Duku doesn't know what to do. Part of him really likes Boare, but on the other hand, he indirectly caused Boare's brother's death. If he accepts Boare's feelings, it will only hurt her more. Torn by this conflict, Duku feels terrible pain. He can only release his emotions by punching the sandbag. The next day comes and Duku goes to see Boare. He tells her that her feelings for him are just a misunderstanding. She sees her brother's shadow in him. So she's confusing these feelings that Duku also says that he will pretend he never heard her confession. Then he turns to leave. But Boare insists it's not a misunderstanding. Her heart flutters when she sees Duku. Her feelings for him are real. But Duku still doesn't believe her. He tells Boare not to come to the boxing gym anymore. He doesn't want people to misunderstand. But all this is just Duku pretending to protect Boare from hurt. After leaving her, he goes to his mom's kitchen. He tells his mom about Boare's confession. He says he really wants to accept her feelings. But his mom thinks clearly. She tells Duku to first confess his connection with Jong-kyu to Boare. He also needs to tell Boare why Jong-kyu died. If Boare can still accept him after that, then they can date openly. But Duku doesn't have the courage to tell Boare, so he gives up on the idea of accepting her feelings. Then he packs his bags and goes on a sudden trip. His destination is clear, the place where Jong-kyu is buried. There he tells Jong-kyu all about his feelings for Boare. From this moment, he decides never to accept Boare. Meanwhile, to stop her son from running away again, Duku's mom visits the gym owner. She tells him about Duku and Boare. Then she asks him to help convince Duku. The owner agrees. Right away, after Duku's trip, the owner signs him up for a boxing match. This gives Duku a good way to let out his emotions, so he starts training like crazy. At the same time, Boare refuses to give up and visits Duku's mom. She tells her she really likes Duku and asks for her help. But Duku's mom knows his decision and refuses Boare. She then questions Boare. She asks if a rich girl could really date a driver who didn't even finish high school. Do your parents know? Would they approve? After these tough questions, she says she doesn't want Duku caught up in a rich girl's love game. She tells Boare to stop. Boare quietly leaves after hearing this. Duku sees everything. His heart aches for her. He follows Boare for a while. He wants to stop her, but can't bring himself to do it. Soon after the boxing match begins, Duku lets out all his emotions in the ring. After a tough fight, he makes it to the finals. Just then Boare finds Duku again. She says she's throwing away her pride to ask one last question. Did Duku ever really like her? He immediately says no. But Boare won't give up. She asks why he was so nice to her, then why did he kiss her if he didn't like her? Duku says his blood sugar was low, and he just wanted something sweet that has nothing to do with kissing. Boare feels completely heartbroken after hearing this. She angrily walks away not long after the final match begins. Duku dominates with his steady skills, but just then Boare appears. Duku freezes in place. After a fierce counterattack, Duku gets knocked out. This leaves the wealthy heiress Boare deeply upset. Soon she falls ill. The maid Duknam knows Boare is heartbroken. She goes to the boxing gym to find Duku. She drags him to visit Boare at the hospital. But no matter how much Duknam pleads, Duku refuses to go. This disappoints Duknam too. Soon Boare leaves the hospital. After hearing Duknam's story about Duku, Boare gives up on him completely to forget Duku. She packs away everything related to him. She asks Duknam to throw it all out. Meanwhile, Duku tries to ease his pain by working hard every day. At night, he buries himself in studies. But Boare's image still lingers in his mind. Every night, Duku waits outside Boare's house. Just seeing Boare becomes his daily habit. Not long after, Duku goes back to school to discuss his studies with the professor. The professor is very happy with Duku's paper. He even asks Duku to present it at a graduate seminar. This makes Duku feel very relieved. Before leaving, the professor gives him a concert ticket as a reward. But when Duku arrives at the concert, he sees Boare there too. Their eyes meet, tears fill their eyes. Their feelings for each other overwhelm them. Unable to bear it, Boare leaves. Duku chases after her. He says if someone has to leave, it should be him. Boare thanks Duku. Because of him, she has cried a lot. But also because of him, she has felt happiness. So she doesn't regret developing feelings for him. Boare's words break Duku's heart. That night, he can't even enjoy his 1982 cola soon. After Boare goes to the hospital for a checkup, she also meets Gian Wu there. While they're talking, Boare learns something new. Her brother had another close friend in high school. His name was Han Tae-woong, another famous genius student. Boare doesn't recognize the name, but when she hears he was her brother's only friend, she becomes very curious about Han Tae-woong. To make Boare happy, Gian Wu contacts Jihi, Tae-woong's old classmate. He asks for Tae-woong's contact information, but Duku had already told Jihi not to reveal his true identity. So Jihi says Tae-woong changed his number. She claims she doesn't know it. Gian Wu then visits their old high school. He asks teachers about Tae-woong, but they say Tae-woong dropped out 8 years ago. No records exist. This makes Gian Wu suspicious. Why would a genius suddenly quit school? With these questions, Gian Wu returns to the hospital. Just then he discovers Jihi never attended elementary school in Korea, but she lied earlier saying she and Han Duku were classmates. Thinking about Jihi and Duku's connection and Jihi's link to Tae-woong, Gian Wu suddenly has a detective moment. Gian Wu suddenly realizes that Han Duku and Han Tae-woong are the same person. He immediately rushes to the boxing gym, while Duku wonders what Gian Wu wants. Gian Wu calls out the name he hid for years. Seeing his identity exposed, Duku tells Gian Wu everything. He asks Gian Wu to keep it from Boare. Meanwhile, Boare asks President Kim about Han Tae-woong, but President Kim warns her, saying her brother died because of Tae-woong. Meeting him would only hurt her and her father. Despite President Kim's words, Boare remains very curious. The next day, she visits Jihi and asks about Han Tae-woong. Jihi asks if she also believes Tae-woong caused her brother's death. Boare says she isn't fully convinced, but she still wants to know the truth. Jihi tells her Tae-woong is also a victim. His studies were cut short, his dreams were shattered. He lived under Jongkyu's shadow for 8 years. Jihi advises her to stop searching for Tae-woong. Boare then leaves Jihi's office. At the same time, Duku visits Jihi at the hospital. Meanwhile, Boare realizes she left her phone at the hospital, so she turns back to get it. But right at that moment, she hears Jihi calling Han Tae-woong's name. She is completely shocked. Unable to accept the truth, she immediately goes to a bar. Then she tries to numb herself with cola. When Duku gets Boare's call, he rushes over right away. Seeing Boare's strange mood, Duku asks her what happened. Just then, Boare reveals Duku's true identity. Facing the secret he tried so hard to hide now exposed. Duku looks terrified, but Boare doesn't push further. Instead, she staggers away. Duku quickly steps in to support her. On the way back, Boare leans on Duku's shoulder. Neither of them says a word, but pain and confusion grow inside them. When they get home, Boare watches Duku leave through the window. Tears suddenly pour down her face. Now she finally understands why Duku rejected her confession. The next day, Boare invites Duku to their old high school. Then the two of them start walking around the school facing this place, full of sad memories. Duku feels worse and worse inside at this moment. Boare asks Duku how her brother died. What exactly did Duku say that made her brother kill himself? And when he knew his friend was going to die, why didn't Duku stop him, then facing Boare's questions? This time Duku doesn't run away. Instead, he tells Boare the truth. He says before Jongkyu died, he told Jongkyu, "I don't need a friend like you." That's why Q lost all hope in the end to forget those words. From that day, he lived as Han Duku, full of guilt, for 8 years, until he finally met a girl and developed feelings for her. He thought he could finally live a happy life with her, but he never expected she would be his friend's sister, because he didn't want Boare to know the truth. That's why he kept hurting her. Hearing this, Boare angrily leaves Duku immediately, gets up and chases after her, then hugs Boare from behind. He tells Boare to stop liking him and asks her to keep hating him. He says, only this way Boare won't feel pain. Boare angrily shakes off Duku's hand. She angrily says, even if Duku doesn't tell her this, she would still do it. Then she leaves with a broken heart. But after returning home, Boare tries to convince her dad that Han Tae-woong is actually pitiful. After his brother died, he quit school and gave up his dreams. He even changed his name and left his only mother behind. He's been living in guilt and pain for 8 years. But President Kim doesn't agree. He thinks compared to his own son, at least Han Tae-woong is still alive. So he will never forgive Han Tae-woong. Meanwhile, Chung Shik finally gets a real job. He plans to brag about it to Duku. Hearing Duku is at the school library. He rushes there, but he sees Duku walking out with a professor. The professor praises Duku's paper. Curious Chung Shik follows them. To his shock, Duku, who never finished high school, is discussing advanced math problems with a group of graduate students. Only then does Chung Shik realize he's been the fool all along. Feeling betrayed, Chung Shik is heartbroken. He drinks 2 packs of cola, but still can't calm down at this moment. President Kim visits the boxing gym to see Duku, but the drunk Chung Shik says there's no one named Duku here. President Kim sees he's drunk and prepares to leave, but then Chung Shik says. Chung Shik slurs that Han Duku isn't here, but there's a Han Tae-woong. He says Han Tae-woong isn't his friend. President Kim is shocked and asks about that name. Chung Shik confirms it. He reveals Han Duku's real name is Han Tae-woong. When she learns her loved one caused her brother's death, the rich heiress Boare suffers greatly, but they keep running into each other. This makes Boare very upset. So Boare cries to Duku. She says she's happy to see him like this, but she knows she shouldn't feel this way. So now she hates herself for liking Duku so much. Duku kneels down to comfort Boare. He promises he won't like her anymore and won't appear before her again. He also makes a promise with Boare that he'll forget about her from now on. So he tells Boare to stop being sad. Then he offers his hand to walk her home. Boare looks at the person she loves and slowly reaches out her hand. Then they walk hand in hand through the crowd. Now snowflakes fill the sky. They look like a couple deeply in love, but also like doomed lovers meeting for the last time. At the same time, President Kim learns that Duku is the one who killed his son. He also discovers Boare and Duku are in love. This makes President Kim furious. Just then Boare comes home. President Kim guesses she just met Duku. He yells at Boare angrily. He also strongly blames Duku. Boare says it's all her fault. She was the one who fell for Duku first, but she promises they won't meet again. She begs her dad to pretend nothing happened. President Kim doesn't believe they'll stay apart, so he orders Boare to stay home. The next day, President Kim calls Duku to meet him. He says he knows Duku's true identity. He asks Duku to leave voluntarily. He can travel or study abroad, as long as he never sees Boare again. President Kim will support him forever. Duku kneels down immediately. He says his love for Boare is real. President Kim asks how he can say such cruel words. If he truly cared about Q as a friend, you shouldn't say things like that. At the same time, Boare panics when she learns President Kim met with Duku. But the bodyguards surround her, and she can't leave helpless if she calls Gian Wu for help. Jian Wu realizes Boare is using him to chase her true love. As a top-tier backup option, Jian Wu suddenly feels like a noble hero. So he uses his doctor's status to say Boare needs a checkup. The bodyguards don't dare stop them and let them go. Once outside, Boare leaves Jian Wu behind without a word. Jian Wu doesn't complain at all. He's the ultimate doormat, totally upside down. Boare rushes to the company. President Kim is kicking Duku out. Boare steps in to stop him. President Kim yells at her for forgetting how her brother died so quickly. Boare says her brother died because of his own insecurities. It's not Duku's fault. President Kim slaps her in anger. Boare leaves heartbroken, but Duku chases after her. He tells her to apologize to her dad. Boare asks why he acts like her brother's death is his fault. How long will he live like a sinner? Duku replies that at least he's still alive now. He asks Boare not to hurt their father's feelings anymore. Then Boare follows Duku. They return to their father's office together. Boare apologizes to her father. That evening Boare goes to see President Kim again. She says she's willing to study abroad and won't see Duku anymore. She hopes her father will stop giving Duku trouble. President Kim doesn't say anything, but he feels sad about his daughter leaving. The next day, President Kim finds Duku. He tells Duku to forget what he said yesterday. This isn't about Duku leaving or staying to solve the problem, but he hopes Duku will forget about Boare and him and start a new life. Duku doesn't understand what's happening, but he agrees. Before leaving, Boare visits Gian Wu one last time. When Gian Wu hears she's going abroad, as someone who secretly loves her, he thinks he should help the person he loves find happiness. So he tells Duku about Boare's plans to leave. Duku first decides not to bother Boare, but then he suddenly remembers her. The pager number Boare gave him 8 years ago. He tries calling it just to see what happens. To his surprise, the call goes through. Duku realizes Boare has been waiting for him all these 8 years. This makes his heart waver. Immediately he rushes to the amusement park where they first promised to meet. He waits there all day. Just when he thinks Boare won't come, Boare appears behind him. She softly calls him Appa. The man puts on his best clothes, ready to negotiate with his future father-in-law, the tycoon. But as soon as he steps out, he sees his girlfriend already kicked out by her father. Duku asks Boare what happened. Boare says her father doesn't approve of their relationship. Duku goes straight to President Kim. He begs President Kim to let him date Boare. But President Kim says seeing Duku only reminds him of his dead son. He can't bear to face Duku. If Boare thinks she can't live without Duku and he can't live with seeing Duku, then they should go their separate ways. Duku promises to take good care of Boare. He vows to keep visiting President Kim until he gets his approval. Duku then arranges for Boare to stay at Seungri's place. By now Seungri has accepted that Duku. Seungri now accepts that Duku sees her as a younger sister. So their past rivalry turns into a sisterly bond, since she was kicked out of her home. The former rich heiress is now completely broke. To make ends meet, Seungri helps Boare get a job interview at a clothing store. The manager doubts Boare's lack of sales experience, but Boare uses her knowledge of luxury fashion to impress the manager. As the saying goes, if you haven't eaten pork, you've at least seen a pig run. Boare passes the interview successfully. That evening Duku takes Boare home for dinner. Seeing the beautiful heiress choose to stay with her poor son, Duku's mother feels heartbroken. She keeps apologizing to Boare and also thanks her. She encourages them to stay strong until President Kim agrees. So in the following days Duku works at construction sites and studies math in his free time. Meanwhile Boare adjusts to her new job. Their life becomes simple and quiet. But soon Duku accidentally finds out about Boare's part-time job. He angrily rushes to the clothing store. He pulls Boare outside. He thinks a rich girl like her should never have to suffer like this. But Boare says she doesn't want to rely on her father or Duku anymore. She wants to live independently. She even says Duku wants to push her away over something so small. This makes her very sad. Duku suddenly realizes something. They have bigger problems than this if they split up over something so small. How can they ever be happy together? So they make up soon after Boare gets her first paycheck. She buys her father a pair of gloves. She also writes to tell him she's doing well. She asks him not to worry. President Kim is deeply moved. Not long after, Duku plans to study at the library, but Chung Shik asks him how he can work and study all day and still have time to date Boare. Duku realizes dating requires actual dates. Following Chung Shik's advice, Duku takes Boare and their friends skiing there. None of them know how to ski, but they have a lot of fun. At this moment, they both feel the happiness of being in love. At night, the side characters think Duku and Boare are moving too slowly, so they decide to help Duku. They decorate the hotel to encourage human civilization progress. Soon after Duku and Boare return to the hotel, seeing the scene carefully set up by their friends and the instructions, Duku looks very nervous. Boare notices and wonders what the instructions say, but just then they accidentally fall onto the sofa. The awkward moment makes them both blush. To lighten the mood, Boare quickly grabs the note their friends left for them. But when she reads it, she sees their friends want them to help human civilization progress. Soon Boare turns red with embarrassment. Duku awkwardly laughs it off as a joke. He tries to leave, but just then Boare stops him before the curtains can react. Boare says it feels a little hot. She asks Duku if he feels it too. Duku gets so scared that his little pepper almost shrinks back inside, not wanting his childhood at age 30 to be ruined. Duku quickly says he doesn't feel anything. Seeing how nervous Duku looks, Boare almost laughs herself silly. Duku realizes Boare was just teasing him. His scared little pepper finally dares to peek out again. Just then they hear a noise from the inner room. They follow the sound to the wardrobe. When they open it, both get a shock. Their friends were hiding inside, ready to surprise them. Early next morning, Duku quietly wakes Boare, saying he wants to show her something. Boare is very curious. Duku says it's Lapland. Soon they arrive at a snowy mountain. In this beautiful scenery, Boare feels like she really went to the legendary Lapland. The mood quickly becomes very dry in the air. To avoid dehydration, they quickly share some water. After the trip, Boare goes to the hospital for a checkup, but this time Gian Wu suggests she gets a full body exam. This makes Boare feel uneasy. What she doesn't know is Gian Wu recently found something wrong in her chest x-ray. At first Gian Wu thinks he might be mistaken, but soon the test results come back that a specialist colleague gives him terrible news. Boare has a thymus tumor, and it's already in the late stage. Gian Wu is shocked by the news. At the same time, Boare's health keeps getting worse. While riding the bus with Duku, she suddenly falls asleep for no reason. Even during normal sleep, she wakes up later and later. At first, Boare doesn't think much of it, but one day, on her way to work, she collapses from severe chest pain. Remembering Gian Wu's strange behavior, Boare quickly goes to find him. She asks Gian Wu if something is wrong with her. Gian Wu can't hide the truth. With a serious face, he tells her she has a malignant tumor. He explains that during her previous thymus surgery, not all of it was removed. That's why the problem came back. The only option now is immediate hospital treatment. Hearing this news, Boare is heartbroken. She just started enjoying happiness, but now she might die soon. This is too hard for her to accept. She begs Gian Wu desperately to save her. She wants to keep living happily, but Gian Wu knows her illness is serious. Seeing Boare in tears, Gian Wu can't do anything to help. Then Boare goes to her father. President Kim is still angry. He scolds Boare again, but he doesn't expect Boare to say she'll come home. She even agrees to break up with Duku. This makes President Kim worried. He quickly asks if something happened. Boare just keeps apologizing to her father. Meanwhile, the professor gives Duku a math problem no one solved in 60 years. Duku finds this very challenging. He makes a promise with Boare. When he solves it, Boare will grant him one wish. After that, he works hard on the problem. He already decided to propose to Boare when he solves it. Soon after, Duku stays alone in the boxing gym. He looks at the scattered boxing gloves on the floor. Suddenly, he remembers how Boare once neatly arranged the gloves. She made them look very pretty in the end. This reminds him of combinations and permutations. He gets a sudden burst of inspiration. He quickly starts working. After doing some complicated calculations, step by step, he finds the solution to the 60-year-old unsolved problem. When he shows his proof to the professor is amazed by what he sees. He gives Duku a big thumbs up. Duku is overjoyed. He immediately asks Boare to meet him because he is ready to propose. But what he doesn't expect is, Boare suddenly gets up and leaves while Duku is still confused that Boare angrily lashes out at him. She asks, if he's out of his mind, how can they get married? Before Duku can understand what's happening, Boare says she won't marry anyone, especially not him. Then she storms off angrily. Soon after, Boare returns to Sungri's house. Without a word, she packs all her belongings. Then she leaves with her luggage. Duku arrives just then. He tries to stop Boare. He says without a good reason, he won't let Boare leave. To make Duku give up, Boare says this life is too hard. She can't stand living poor with Duku anymore, and she doesn't want this kind of life in the future. Facing this solid reason, Duku can't stop her. He has to let Boare go. But he doesn't know Boare already has a deadly illness. She doesn't have much time left. Boare treats Duku so cruelly just to make him forget about her. Then Boare goes to the hospital for treatment. Soon President Kim hears Boare is hospitalized. He rushes to the hospital. He tells Boare not to worry. Even if Earth explodes, he'll save her. But the harsh truth is, even with all his money, Boare's cancer has spread everywhere. It's too late to treat her now. Facing this cruel reality, President Kim feels completely hopeless. Soon Duku hears Boare is sick. When he comes to the hospital, he hears Boare has late-stage cancer. Duku can't believe it. He desperately calls Boare's name. He shouts Boare's name and tries to force his way in to see her, but two medical staff stop him. After he calms down, he stays by Boare's hospital bed. Then Boare apologizes to Duku. She says she shouldn't have cruelly left him alone. Now Duku changes his wish. He only hopes Boare will never leave him. Soon after, Chung Shik and Sung-ri come to visit Boare at the hospital. Two reporters come with them. Because Duku solved a 60-year-old math problem, they want to do a special report about him. They also want to know why Duku gave up the chance to study in America. But Duku worries about Boare, so he doesn't answer much. Boare hears everything. After everyone leaves, Boare asks Duku why he refused to study abroad. She asks if she's holding him back. Duku says no, but Boare doesn't believe him. She thinks Duku shouldn't give up his life for someone who's dying. Duku gets very angry. He scolds Boare angrily. He tells her not to mention death to upset him. Soon Duku appears in the newspaper. Now Duku is famous everywhere. But all this fame doesn't make Duku happy because Boare keeps getting sent to the intensive care unit more often. This means Boare could leave at any moment. To avoid regrets in her final days, they go on an early honeymoon trip. Then they realize how little time they've spent together. They never watched movies together. They never took photos together. They have too few memories together. So in the days that follow, they walk by the sea and enjoy the view. They watch movies and laugh together. At night, when Boare fears the darkness alone, Duku stays by her side. Finally, Boare passes away peacefully, with Duku watching over her, because her loved one is with her. Death doesn't seem so scary anymore. And so the story ends at the very end. Duku takes Boare's dream to the legendary Lapland. There he fulfills Boare's unfulfilled dream. 3 years later, Duku returns from studying in the U.S. He becomes the accomplished Dr. Han Tae-woong. His paper wins the Fulcerson Award. Many people come to hear his speeches. President Kim is among them. When he visits the old places again, it feels like Boare never left. She seems to stay by his side all along.